Hey there everybody. Last weekend we had the opportunity to sit down and chat with Cheyne Logan, who recently created his first ever AI film. This same AI film, Pattaya Hero, actually won an award in an international film festival. So that is a huge accomplishment. Congratulations to Cheyne. Also at the same film festival, they'll be screening and premiering his Pattaya Hero II movie, which is basically, a follow-on movie from Pattaya Hero 1. In these movies, you're gonna see some really interesting things about what's going on in Thailand, some really interesting character journeys and everything. So we were super lucky to have the opportunity to chat with him and to do this interview and to bring this to you. We're gonna be talking about all kinds of techniques that were used, so many different things. So really sit back, relax, and enjoy the chat. It's fascinating. And also, I really urge you to watch the movie. All of you AI filmmakers out there, watch the movie, check it out. I mean, it is really, really, really good. Have a look at the movie, check out this interview, and just enjoy. Alrighty. I saw in one of the videos that you have on YouTube that basically everything is very much around you. Because are you actually living in Pattaya, or you're living between Pattaya and Bangkok?
That's correct. So I live in a university town between Bangkok and Pattaya. So every night is like spring break here. It's crazy. Yeah, just 50 bars filled with university students partying all night.
And it's just all year round good weather, right?
And it's on the beach.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So you got a whole bunch of, like, I was listening on one of the videos. You got like beaches, you got islands, you got cities nearby. So you got like the whole shebang, and it's absolutely stunning.
Yeah. Spot on. That's it. Can't complain.
So I thought, when you wrote that, I think that to make a film like the one that you made, you have to have like a really good understanding of people, actually. And clearly that's what came out in the film, because you actually really managed to, highlight some of the journeys that people go through. I think that that's actually a natural ability, but I would love to understand, how you used it, or what was your process like? How did you bring that into the film? Because you did such an incredible job at just telling that story. Was just spot on. Like, I really related with it when I heard it or when I watched it. And I told you before on the first call that we had, which was, reaching out to you, just telling you what an awesome film that was. And I was just saying, I can relate to that. Even though I've never had that experience, I've been through those same emotions before. So, I think that you have a very special knack. If you have any comments, just, share with us, how you managed to do that, because it's really, really good.
I think it goes back to when I was a teenager, and the group that I was hanging out with, it was just constantly, everybody was pushing each other to do the craziest, wildest shit ever. And I wasn't interested in doing it. I was interested in filming it. And so we documented our entire teenage years. And to me, it was a case of, I liked standing back and just watching and observing and then seeing, how can I turn this into a story? Because you can't just film something. This was pre-Jackass days, right, where you just put something idiotic on TV and everybody would like it. So it was like, okay, we've got to, we're going to blow up something. How can we convert that into a movie somehow so it makes actual sense? So I've always preferred that observation aspect of people, and just, hearing their stories and hearing, everything that they've experienced, and then finding a way to, how can you make it interesting and compelling? Because not everyone's good at storytelling, and everybody has amazing stories. It doesn't matter who you are. Everybody has amazing stories, but if they don't know how to tell them, then it's a block. People are not going to listen. Whereas, I like taking all that in and then, just figuring out a way. Okay, so, you got to pace it so that it's absolutely perfect and people keep paying attention. I've always been interested in that.
No, I think 100% for sure. You have some sort of natural ability to put that into a good story, because, like I said, it's just to be able to take that, because I think everybody gets what you were saying. You know, I think that everybody has had that period in their life where they've been through something like that. But then to tell the story is actually you're coming from a different point of view. And while it's happening in front of your eyes, you know, as you say, like with your friends, while it's happening in front of your eyes, you can see like the story unfolding, and that makes a good story. But it's only when you see it. But then to recreate that, I think that was, you know, and then to hit all of the key points of that journey in one film so eloquently, so well. I think that that's what was just was actually the real beautiful thing about that Pattaya Hero movie, and that journey of like that psychological journey that guy went through. Why don't you tell us a bit about that psychological journey? Because he clearly there are a lot of people like that, and we know that Thailand isn't like that all the time, and you know that that's a specific. You're telling a specific story about what it's like in Pattaya, and what a lot of people assume about Thailand. I think I urge everybody to watch a couple of your videos actually, because you explain so well like the mentality that some people have when they arrive in Thailand and Pattaya, in particular for this video's sake, because we're talking about Pattaya, but in Thailand more generally. So yeah, tell us a bit about that journey that you've probably seen over the last 10 years so many times, like over and over and over again.
Sorry.
No worries.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, I've heard that story a million times now over 10 years. And there's aspects of my own, you know, experience in Thailand that I incorporated into it as well. And it didn't start, you know, the way it ended. It went through around about 7 or 8 drafts. I did it over around about a 48-hour period, but I just kept like winding it down. And there's some people who said, you know, it's just full of cliches about people moving to Thailand and that. But when I kind of look back on it now, after you've written something like that, you lose that attachment to it. You know, you're always disassociated from it. You're looking at it from this perspective of, you know, this word, that sentence. But there's an honesty to it that I think especially a lot of people don't want to talk about. They will always project this ideal, perfect image of themselves, especially in the internet age, where they're always, you know, they're doing everything for a righteous reason. They're doing everything for a good reason. Whereas it's like, really? We can all be selfish. We can all be egotistical at some point. And I think I try to get into that and just, you know, like he, at the start, he's convincing himself why he's there. He's doing it there to do the digital nomad work and everything. But then it slowly starts to unravel, and he starts to come out and say, like, nah, I'm not really here for that. I'm here to just get pissed and have sex every single day, you know? He's basically just going straight for his urges. And that's what most people do when they get that handed to them on a silver platter. They can't avoid the vices.
Yeah. So I think you actually, in one of your videos, you also had like some statistics about some of the people, like how many of them actually managed to stay in Thailand. They are shockingly low for people who try to go there to make to move there and to live there and stuff like that. So you've really seen this over and over and over again.
Yeah, it's like a production line of people just coming and going all the time. You'll meet someone, they'll say, you know, I've been here for 6 months, you know, I'm never leaving. And then 2 weeks later, you run into them and they're packing their bags, heading out of the country the next day, you know. It's people can't seem to survive here long term.
Yeah.
It's just too much with the language difference, the cultural difference.
Temptation, a lot of temptation.
It costs a lot of money to do what the guy did in Pattaya Hero. Yeah. And most people in that situation would have gone home like at chapter 3 or something like that in the story. Right. But he was just one of those people that was like, he dug himself in and said, you know, till death do us part, basically. You get people like that here regularly, but comparatively, most people end up just like, yeah, calling it in and heading back home.
Yeah, very, very funny. There's like a specific moment which is you can just, because I think that a part of the whole actually a big part of the movie was just the denial of inside of self, of not being honest with himself about what was going on around him, and there were just so many of those beautiful moments, and I think that people can convince themselves. You're right. So how did you actually think of doing that? Because that denial part, you had to maybe have seen that in people, or you had to have experienced that yourself in order to tell that story so well. I just don't. You have to have. How did you do that? Like, how did you? Yeah, like, you bring that out. You had to have gone through something like that yourself, I think.
Yeah, I've never actually gone through that. I've gone. My life here has been very smooth. As soon as I got off the plane, I had a full-time secure job waiting for me. I've never become an alcoholic. I haven't drunk in a couple of weeks, and it's no big deal. But I had a family member move over here, and he lived in Pattaya, and he quit his job in Australia, a good salary, good, secure, long-term job, moved over here, and within, I think, a year, he'd been fired from like 4 jobs. He was barely hanging on, and he kicked it in and had to go back home.
Oh, wow. Okay. Was that actually the inspiration for the movie?
No, because I've heard that story a million times. So, my family member who watched it said that he had to turn it off halfway through because he said it hurt too much because I'm sure you based this on me. And I was like, nah, I didn't, aspects of it. But, you hear this story 100 times. When you're living here, every second person that moves to Pattaya goes through that experience, just depending on the extent of how far down the rabbit hole they go.
Yeah, and that's it. It is very much a rabbit hole, and it is about how far you go down that thing. And I think one of the moments that's very funny is what's happening again. He's like, right, so he's now basically a local in Thailand, in Pattaya, and now he's like meeting other foreigners who are arriving, and he's saying like, they're not that interesting, and stuff like that. So that's probably what he was like when he first arrived. Telling the story is actually not that interesting. And then what was the moment where he's like, "What do you think I am, a fucking mug?" I think that's about him buying drinks for all the girls, or was that for him buying drinks for all the foreigners? I can't remember now.
That was for him buying drinks for all the girls. But if you go back to chapter 2, when he was buying drinks for all the girls and throwing money everywhere and that, he thought he was, like the king. He was the god of like Pattaya. But then it just comes full circle where he's just like, I realize that they don't give a shit, Replace me with any other man on earth doing the same thing and they'll get the same attention. So... Yep. That aspect or that part there, that chapter, the Thailand epiphany, yes. That's something I wrote actually around about 6 months ago. And I was going to make a video about that because there is an epiphany moment when you move here. And I'm pretty sure most countries have it when any foreigner moves overseas, where you go through this kind of love affair initially with the country. And everything is perfect. Everybody you meet is amazing. Everybody's happy in that. And then you start to blend in and become part of, like the daily society. But then you realize, wait a minute, it's wearing off. People don't give a shit anymore. You were never special. It was just a case of, it was an optimism that people were feeding off around you, and then you were feeding off as well. And then people can choose to go down a negative spiral, or they can improve themselves in their integration into the society. And I think you find that in every country where you have expats. People will go down the negative cycle and they'll hate the locals, but they'll live there because they like certain aspects of the country. But then there'll be other people who will, make friends with the local people, learn the language, all that type of stuff, etc.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I don't want to give away the ending at all, but just that whole journey and down that rabbit hole. That's I think in some way or another, a lot of people can relate to just how you can lose self-control and end up in a situation that you would never have thought that you could have ended up in, but you just do. And then, like you said, it's time to make a decision. How far do you go down that rabbit hole before you pull yourself out?
Yeah, and Pattaya is the third most visited city in the world. Ooh. It doesn't have the reputation that Bangkok or Paris have, but it is the third most visited city in the world. And a lot of that has to do with that raw attraction that anybody can go down there and become Tommy Lee on a very small budget. As many girls as you want, the alcohol that you want, you're in the VIP section of a bar partying. Everybody's treating you like you're the most handsome, rich person on the planet. It's definitely messes with people's heads to experience. It's like, you fly first class and then you've got to go back to coach. It's the exact same thing, except this is about sex and alcohol. So yeah, every man that experiences it, they have to basically, accept that it's an illusion, but a lot of people don't.
Yeah, absolutely. So, actually, I think, in one way or another, like me, for example, I haven't even been to, I've been to Thailand, but I didn't go through that because I was literally there on holiday. But like in another place, I've pretty much been through probably the same thing. You know what I mean? In a miniature kind of way. I mean, it's just about when you pull yourself out. So actually, I wanted to ask you a bit about Pattaya 2 now. So Pattaya 2 is coming up. Without giving away too much, because I know that you haven't completed it yet, tell us a little bit about what's in store for us. You released a little bit of a trailer for it, telling us a bit about what's going on there. I think we might also post that one for people to see, to get a little bit of a taste of what's going on. But tell us a little bit about it.
So the original Pattaya Hero was like photos, a lot of photos flicking through, and then the video for like six seconds or 7 seconds. And this one is just full video, and it's a full-on movie, basically. It's a short film. Everything that happens in it, it's so it's being made behind a computer, completely all with AI, all the voices, all the video, everything like that. And the story is set in the same universe. So it's in Pattaya, obviously, but it's a very different vibe to the original one. The original had that aspect of, a noob moving to Pattaya and experiencing all the aspects, whereas this one kind of goes into the seedier side of things. In the 90s, it was very, very popular for people to write crime crime fiction novels in Bangkok or set in Bangkok. So there's a lot of older guys who have kind of grown up reading those books about Thailand and stuff like that. But the younger generation kind of hasn't, and they don't know a lot about the history of like how crazy the underworld can be here. And when you're a part of it, it just seems completely normal. And that's kind of what this one goes into, while also kind of just telling an interesting story about a guy questioning his attitude of, he's been living in Pattaya for like 2 decades, and he experiences something in one night which makes him completely change his attitude on how he's viewed things.
Wow. Yeah. So that actually sounds very interesting. First of all, because I guess there's like a little bit of education in there about this underworld of Thailand, and then no doubt together with, like, also if I just think about how you did Pattaya 1, like Pattaya 2, there's definitely going to be a journey in there. I can imagine an interesting journey for this guy, the protagonist.
Yeah, well, the protagonist in Pattaya Hero 1, that was like kind of everything was through his eyes. So you don't learn much about the people around him. You learn a little bit. So you learn about like the girl that he ends up living with, a little bit about the guy that he's going to do the drug deal with, but very little about him. Whereas in the second one, it's kind of like you are the protagonist this time, and you're meeting all these characters that take place in Pattaya. And yeah, so there's actually less about the protagonist. You're viewing him as a prism, and just, yeah, everything's through his perspective.
That sounds absolutely beautiful. Now, quickly, the Pattaya 1, that was your first AI film that you ever made, right?
100%. Yeah, I had no idea about AI a week and a half before, apart from ChatGPT. Yeah, I had no idea about anything about AI.
Amazing, really, really amazing. And like, how long did it take you to? I mean, that was your first one. That was, it was really, really good. So, how long did it take you to actually, I guess you might have had the idea for a while, but when you sat down and decided, okay, I want to learn these tools and stuff like that, how long did it take you to actually get involved from that stage?
From start to finish, it would have taken around about 50 hours.
50 hours, right? Yeah.
So that includes like the writing of it, but then, yeah, all the way to the editing as well. But all the AI processing in between, that was the vast majority of the work, like 40 hours.
Yeah. I guess also the fact that you've done some YouTube work also helped with the editing a lot. You have some skills, obviously, from there as well that you're able to bring along with you.
I've been editing since I was 12 years old. The 2 VCRs, pressing the record pause, and yeah, I've been doing that for 30 years now. Really
cool. I mean, yeah, there's definitely talent here. You know what I mean? Like, definitely talent. No, for sure. I know that we had a call before, and you mentioned like that there are obviously limitations with the AIs that you use. Now we've seen some movies, and where you can see like very clearly that it's made with AI. I mean, you can pretty much do that with every single AI film. But the thing is that you manage to get around that. Even though you can see that there are limitations as an audience, right? The thing is that you do it so elegantly that those all of those those limitations are. You don't see them as limitations because you managed to use that and turn that into something that really worked, And so you actually basically formulate a whole new style, which you alluded to earlier on with like where you mentioned you sliced together a whole bunch of photos. So yeah, I mean your style was really, really good. And now you're saying that Pattaya 2 is going to be pretty different. It's more like a film, really. So it's just very interesting. Any comments from that it would be super interesting to listen to.
Well, it's weird for me because I don't understand what everybody else is doing. And I'm not trying to say that in an egotistical way at all, because I know that there's got to be people out there who are doing the same style as me, but I just haven't found them yet. What I'm finding is the vast majority of people who are doing AI video work right now, they're doing it based on visuals first. Context or story is the very last thing. And it's not helping with the AI field because a lot of people are looking at it saying, who cares? There's nothing interesting here to keep me watching, keep me paying attention to it. I always say story is king. And if the story wasn't good, I wouldn't make the movie in the first place. So I we'll focus on the story first thing and get that down pat. And that's what I did with Pattaya Hero 1. That's what I'm going to do or doing with Pattaya Hero 2. But I'm finding so many people, it's just a case of, they've got the visual effects, and that they're saying, Sora came out this week. Let's see what it can do. And all they're doing is just making 10-second clips and saying like, wow, the visuals are amazing. But there's no reason to watch it. There's no background. There's no context to anything. And I didn't understand that. And I started going through winners of AI short films, saying like, okay, so if they've won the competitions, they must be interesting and compelling. And then I watched them and I'm like, I don't get it. It's not a story. It's just, are people watching, like graphic designers watching this and saying that that's a good visual effect or something like that? Because as a story, there's nothing there. It doesn't make any sense, or there's just like visuals and music and that. There has to be a story. There has to be a reason for the viewer to watch. I've always, I'm involved in music as well, and I've always said that you can write the best song in the world on a second-hand acoustic guitar. It doesn't matter about the quality of the equipment. If the song is amazing, then people will listen to it and people will pay attention. And film is the same. If the story is interesting and compelling, then people will watch. And it doesn't matter. We grew up watching, I don't know about you, but for me, I grew up watching movies on VHS tapes that had been taped over like 5 or 6 times. You had the grainy lines over it and that. You're watching it on a very small CRT TV. But the story was so interesting that you watched it again and again and again and again. Yeah. So saying like, oh, this is 4K, the visual effects are absolutely stunning, but it's boring. Why would I ever go back to it?
Yeah. No, I mean, I could not agree with you more. That is the whole thing about it, is really the storytelling. Like, that is absolutely number one. From all the data that we look at, from surveys and stuff like that, we have been out on the street just talking to people, and every single time what they talk about, like in terms of statistics, the most important thing is the storyline, and you can see that in all other kinds of series and movies that have been really, really good. It's not so much about the quality of the AV. Think of South Park, Rick and Morty, Family Guy, and many, many, many others. The storyline is what actually really, really counts, and that's who the people are connecting with, and not so much the audio-visual quality, because it's nice, but it's not like people wouldn't watch Lord of the Rings if it was only good AV quality. It was that whole story that got people involved, in the Game of Thrones as well. People got involved in the whole story and literally the Game of Thrones, where kings and queens and different lineages were fighting each other. That's what hooked everybody in. It wasn't, looking at the clearest image of a dragon,
Nobody says, oh my God, the cinematography of The Shawshank Redemption was amazing.
Yeah, actually, unfortunately, it's true. And also, if I think about like some of the Quentin Tarantino like films and how much effort they went through some of those scenes to create those scenes, is actually something phenomenal. Like there's a lot of thought that goes into it. But really, at the end, it's the story. But all of those extra bits and pieces, those are all like additional. But the storyline is like the number one thing, and then everything else comes from that.
One of the most interesting aspects, and it's interesting because you take a lot of the aspects of YouTube, and a lot of people who are doing YouTube are doing an entire, production team's work on their own. And AI lets you do that, except you're doing it with short films for now. It's not going to be long until it's feature films that everybody can make in their own bedroom. But experience with Pattaya Hero II, I've always wanted to be a director, but I've never directed anything. But I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, so I had to be the writer, Then I had to create all the storyboards for it. Then I had to record all the dialogue myself. Then I had to edit all the dialogue. Then I had to create all the cinematography myself using the images that I'm going to create the video from. Then I had to run through all that, edit everything that came out. Then I had to add the Foley. Then I had to do the music. So you're doing every single aspect of the film process yourself. And while it's time consuming, I mean, from 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. today, I did nothing but work on Pattaya Hero II. And it didn't seem like I did a lot. But to think about, you watch the credits of any single movie, even if it's a short film, and there'll be at least 20 to 30 people on the crew.
Yeah.
This is going to be entirely made by me. And I've had people watch it. I actually won a short film competition with Pattaya Hero, and the person who the person who is responsible, like in charge of the short film committee, was contacting me and saying like, how did you shoot this? What lens did you shoot this on? What camera did you use? And I'm like, I made it in my bedroom on my computer. He's like, I don't understand what you mean. Like, when you come down for the awards, can you explain what you're talking about? And like, there's a lot of people who just have absolutely no comprehension that this is being done. Just a dude with a keyboard making these films now. It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the awesome thing is actually, congratulations firstly on that winning that award. You must tell us what award that was. We'd love to plug that in as well. And the beautiful thing is that like you really now have a resource that is so strong that helps you to write these stories. So I just remembered what my last question was as you started talking, because it was all connected, was how, like, did you ever try to get into Hollywood, or did you ever think that going to Hollywood was possible or something like that? What was the barrier that stopped you from going to Hollywood?
Two things. One thing was really, really stupid, and it's probably one of the biggest regrets I have in my life. When I was 16 years old, we had it was like MTV in Australia, and I made a proposition for a TV show, and I sent it to the television channel, and didn't hear back from them for weeks and that. And then one day with our school, we were in the city of Sydney, and we got free time. We were wandering around doing whatever we wanted. And one of our mates just had this idea and said, like, let's have a competition to see who can go up to the highest level in any building in the city. And so it was just like we all scattered off, running into any building that we could, going to basically grab like a business card from the highest level that we could sneak into. And I ended up going up into a building to like the 50th floor or something, and it was Columbia TriStar Pictures. And when I walked out into the lobby, everybody's looking at me like, what the hell is a school kid doing in here? And it snapped and it clicked, and I said, do you guys do like work experience? And they said, yeah. So next school holidays I had work experience for those 2 weeks at Columbia TriStars. And it was just, as a 16-year-old, I just sat in a room for 2 weeks just reading all the scripts that they got. That's all I did. But it was really interesting having that, perspective to read all these scripts for those 2 weeks. And it was exciting. I was working in the harbour of Sydney, beautiful office to myself, which, as a 16-year-old felt amazing. And then on the last day of that, I come home, I'm feeling super happy, excited about myself, because they're saying, when you finish high school, we can get your job here and that. I get home and my mum says, you've got to call that music channel back because they've called and they want to speak to you about a job. So I call them back and they say, we got your proposition. We absolutely love it. We think it's going to be a great TV show. We want to make it, and we want to make you the creative consultant. And I've just gone, can I be the director? without understanding anything about how the industry works. And I could hear the lady say, like her attitude completely changed. She went from like, I'm offering a 16-year-old kid a creative consultant position with the most popular music channel in the country. He's going to be absolutely overboard with it. And the first thing I do is counter offer, saying I want to run the entire show as a 16-year-old. It was ridiculously stupid. And that's the biggest regret that I had, because her immediate reaction was like, this kid's a dickhead. And basically like, thanks for that. We'll get back to you anyway, And then a couple of months later, I had to watch that show get created without any of my input on the music channel. But that was the closest I ever got to getting into the film industry. Everything after that was just university. Get a job, work, no time.
Yeah, wow. That's crazy how just in a moment like that it changed basically the course of it.
Any other day I wouldn't have had that bravado to say something so stupid. They called 2 weeks earlier before I did the work experience. A day later, I would have been over it. But just at that exact moment where it was just like, this is incredibly exciting. Yeah. And they just got me right at a point where I was like, I could take over the world,
Yeah, but as a kid, you would always have a lot of questions because you just don't understand a lot of things. So from her perspective, like she could have also just understood a little bit better that she's talking to a young guy who really doesn't know anything. So it's like, what are you asking me to do here? It's kind of a normal question if you ask me,
but I didn't ask what are you asking me to do. I said, can I be the director? And even as it came out of my mouth, I was just like, this is a really dumb thing to say when you don't even know what the job entails. It was completely dumb. And I kind of understand them, just going like, like these are delusional. So. Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I think for us, we feel like they missed out on a huge opportunity. Here you are. And I think that, you have a lot of talent, clearly. Pattaya 1 was kind of just really, really right up there on top of like everything that we've seen. Storytelling, fantastic, using the tools, the limitations in your own way, and then turning that into really a new style was just incredible how you managed to do that. We can't wait to see what's happening with Pattaya 2. We are, we're here to support you as Izsit. We would love to help you in whatever way that we can. Congratulations on winning the award for tell us a bit about that award actually of Pattaya 1. What was it? Which film festival was it?
It's called the Southeast Asia International Film Festival. I don't know how many years it's been running. I don't know if it's the first year or it's been running for a couple of years. It was interesting because there's there's a website where you can, I think it's not Film Runway. Maybe it's Film Runway.
Yeah, Runway AI, the AI one.
There's one where it's like it lists every single film competition in the world, and it gives you ability to submit through the website as well. Like every short film competition or feature film competition links to it, and then if you upload your thing and then just enter it, then you can immediately your video gets sent to them. So. I went through that looking for videos and that, and this short film festival is located in Pattaya. And I was just like, the deadline's in like a week. Let's enter it. Why not? And I think within around about an hour of entering it, I got an email back from the guy running it, and he was like, I was just about to call you to ask you to enter your film into this competition because I really wanted that film into this competition. And I was like, convenient. So around about a week later, I got an email from him saying, yeah, just to let you know, it's won the short film category. So yeah, I was like, cool.
Well done. Very well, very well done.
It's hard to, when you create something, it's hard to kind of look at it not critically, or like with those, when I'm watching it, I'm just like like spotting everything that I would, if I had more time, I would have fixed.
Yeah. No, I think I know what you mean. Like with us and our startup, it's pretty much doing that as well. As like there's so many mistakes everywhere, but we just have to go with it, So I can imagine what it's like for you as well. But
yeah, it's impossible.
But yeah, like Cheyne, I think we pretty much covered a lot of stuff. Is there anything else that you'd actually like to cover? I think that one point that you mentioned earlier on was a very cool point. Is there something else that you wanted to bring up?
No, the only thing that to me that I feel like is missing in this field is the story aspect, and that's one thing that I'm grappling with, because I'm trying to find people who are doing similar things to me, and everywhere I'm looking, I'm just seeing the visual side, or a lot of people are moving into music videos like the Door Brothers. There's going to be people moving into porn. It's just inevitable. But I'm not seeing the story side aspect of it right now, with the potential for feature films and short films. So yeah, it's been a bit disappointing so far, and that's where I understand people getting weary about AI's potential and saying like why like it's a gimmick. Yeah. Whereas I feel like if it seems like right now there's a lot of people who like the computer aspect that are into it, but not a lot of writers that are into the aspect. And I'm kind of wondering if I'm just one of the first writers to jump into it and say, like, I really want to be able to share my story in film, so I'm going to do everything I can to learn it, because it is a massive learning curve. Yeah. But I think when more writers jump in as the technology grows, and it's every single week there's a new technology being broken, or aspect of the technology being broken, it's not going to be long before more and more people move into it. So take advantage of it before people move into it, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, no, I think you're clearly very talented. I think I've said that about 10 or 20 times this call. It's just very true. It was such a good story. We're taking a very different approach to what everybody else has got. We're like working very much on independent creators, so not like trying to go the Hollywood direction. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. Hollywood. So for your understanding, I also wanted to do something in Hollywood. I did acting, singing, dancing. Well, not so much singing, actually. I was really bad at singing, but I did it for fun, though. Just because it was funny when I sang. You know what I mean? Like that's all. So I've done like film. I've been on film festivals, but like as an entertainer or as like the voice or something like that. I think it's because I got a funny accent that people like. I was in a Bollywood movie. I did. I don't know, always funny things. Actually, I was in finance, and they used to ask me to come on TV. Firstly, because I was entertaining, but also because I had a really good performance of my portfolio. But I was on TV 3 times, interviewed live about my portfolio. And that would have gotten more, but I left South Africa and no longer was there. So, yeah. But I was on TV 3 times for finance, not entertainment at all. So that was pretty funny. And then I worked on a cruise ship, and there I was just purely an entertainer, and that was a really cool experience. I think I had the best time of my life on that cruise ship. But anyway, so I didn't get into Hollywood. So I'm kind of like not against Hollywood or something like that. It's just that there's so much talent out there, and I think that Izsit is the right place for people to find, to express, to discover that talent and to bring it to a global audience. And we're supporting independent people while doing it. So. So yeah, that's the whole game. That's the whole thing about Izsit, really. You know.
Yeah, I understand and agree.
Yeah.
I think if this plays like like YouTube, kind of taking it away from the commercial aspect of commercial media, and basically allowing independent people to control the narrative, and that would be the best.
Yeah, and I just think that like the more people that get involved in this space, the creativity is just going to go. Like the different kinds of stories that you're going to hear are going to be just so much broader, so much wider, also niche, and that's what we like, because with this AI resource, you don't need so much resource to make a film, so you can make it more niche, and it still works because you're still hitting a niche audience and you're still making money out of it. So that's what we love, is that we can break down these huge markets where it's like Marvel, where you're just trying to reach like as many people as possible, just moving away from that model. You know what I mean? It's like let's get some real stories, some good stories, and that's yeah. So your work is fantastic. Thanks so much, Cheyne. We've been here for a full hour. I just wanted to say thanks so much for taking the time to chat with us on your Saturday evening. You can get back to working on Pattaya 2. I don't know if you're going to continue working on it tonight, but just thanks so much for having a chat with us today.
Thank you.